Shalom party people, and welcome to the 12th C. Lack of knowledge. So they say that ignorance is bliss. That may be true, but in all honesty, when we're talking about human factors, and specifically reasons why we mess up, lack of knowledge tends to be a pretty big one. We don't know what we don't know. And all cliches aside, when something is going on and it's our job to step in and do something about it, if you don't know the proper procedures to get the job done, or what to look for things that could potentially go wrong, you're definitely going to be up a creek without a paddle. There are so many things where a lack of knowledge can really, really bite us in the butt. And the really scary part of it is a lot of times our lack of knowledge is not an excuse for not being able to get the job done effectively. In the legal world, ignorance of the law isn't an excuse for not following the law. You're expected to know. You have access to be able to go look up what you need to look up. But a lot of times we don't know what questions to ask. In relationships, we can't read other people's mind. It becomes very difficult to anticipate what you have to do. I mean, filling out paperwork. Yeah, it may have instructions, but are those instructions clear? Do you have someone to turn to and say, hey, I need some instruction on how to do this. I need you to educate me. And there's a lot of jobs out there where they consider your training on-the-job training, and nobody ever really tells you what to do, and you just have to figure it out. And that becomes a very scary situation because you're tossing in very, very green, untrained people into situations that may not be good. Prior work experience for me when I was in corrections, there were things that there was really good training available on, and then there were things that there was really horrible training on, or lack thereof. And you just had to figure some things out. God forbid you're in a situation where you have people who are telling you wrong. Maybe that's a lack of knowledge too, where somebody doesn't know and thinks they know, and then informs other people, and nobody knows any different. That can really come back and bite some people in the butt too. So how we get around a lack of knowledge is, number one, a drive to go and learn. And then number two, continuing education. I've heard Jocko Willink talk about how he really, really would like to see law enforcement be in training 20 to 25% of their on-the-clock time. In all honesty, I think there's a lot of professions where some level of further in-depth training is really, really necessary. And this idea of on-the-job training, of you'll just pick it up as you go, that may be true for some things, but for others, not so much. One of the things that frustrated me when I was in corrections was we had people who didn't know how to operate their radios. And that radio was life and death inside the institutions. Because you could have an officer who was in a situation and it would be unsafe for them, and they could push one button and it would turn their microphone on permanently, and they could shout their location and that they needed help. Well, we had officers who didn't know how to operate that part of the radio. We had officers who didn't know how to hold down a button in spite of pushing that one, they could just pick their normal transmit button and tell us a location. You'd have people who'd pick it up and literally scream into the radio, and nothing legible in their screaming. It's just, ah! Well, that's not helping. Tell me where you are. Location, location, location. Then tell me what's going on. Two really simple steps. And what would have fixed that is, all right, everybody, we're going to call you in for 1 hour once a month. You can come in at the beginning of your shift. You can come in at the end of your shift. You can come in the middle of the week. You can come in, right as you're coming on. Doesn't matter. Either way, just pick something. You're going to come in for 1 hour. All right, we are going to make 5 radio calls. We're going to make a staff member in distress radio call. We're going to make a, hey, I need you to call me on the phone, so that way we're not chattering up the radio waves call. We're going to make a, hey, I'm requesting a supervisor's assistance call. We're going to make a disturbance call. And we're going to make a, hey, I need somebody to check the regs call. Simple. Those are 5 easy calls that everybody should know the codes for those. And if you don't know the codes for them, you kind of have some real questions as to, do you seriously have that lack of knowledge? Because we need to educate you. And then, after you make those 5 radio calls, we're going to make you do 20 jumping jacks. Get your heart rate up just a little bit. If we really wanted to get crazy, make people run 200 yards, but we'll make you do 20 jumping jacks. Get your heart rate up just a little bit, and then you're going to make one of those 5 radio calls again. And then you're going to do 20 more jumping jacks, and you're going to make another one of those calls. Wash, rinse, repeat until you've done them all. Push the button. Count to 1. State where you are and what your problem is. Training like that on the regular would have fixed most of our radio issues. I can see a lot of value in having some level of continuing education, because you have people who think they know things and don't. You have people who nod it off in training. Or, you ever thought about equipment updates, rule changes? Stuff happens as life goes on, and maybe we're operating with old information. Having that continuing education can update people as to what needs to go on, what needs to change. Hey, I know we've done it this way for the last forever, but the latest and greatest stuff has come out, and it puts that old stuff to shame, and we need to update this. That continuing education can really help defeat some of that lack of knowledge. And that's where it needs to be quality training. And it needs to be done by people who really care about it, and not just somebody who, well, I guess we'll make them a training officer. The people teaching the material matter just as much as the material being taught, if not more. Sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience of working with people who had a serious lack of knowledge of what was doing. Or, what about your own? Nobody told me XYZ, and so now I'm up a creek without a paddle. I'd love to hear about it. Go do hard things.